Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
The OnCourse Podcast is an IVM production, and if you enjoy listening to our show, you should definitely check out Simplified. Hosted by Chuck, Narain, and Shriketh, Simplified takes big complex issues and simplifies it to help you appear smarter at parties.
You're listening to the OnCourse Podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the OnCourse podcast. OnCourse is a creative and alternate education company that aims to bridge the gap between formal classroom education and real-world skills. We offer a range of programs from short skill-based courses to test prep to application assistance for those looking to study abroad. My name is Alisha Mashruwala and I'm the CEO and co-founder at OnCourse.
Hi everyone, my name is Akhil Daswani. I'm the COO and co-founder at OnCourse. Welcome to today's show, and today what we're going to be covering is undergraduate admission options in India.
So just to kind of get kick-started, of course, India being one of like the top places that now students are going to want to stay back and looking at costs abroad and everything like that. So let's maybe start off with a general brief on what are the types of programs that are available in, the commerce space, the art space, the sciences and everything that we have.
Right. So, of course, I think with a lot of Indian parents, cost, of course, is one of the big reasons that they don't want to send their kids abroad too early. And second, a lot of parents feel like their kids aren't ready to go unless, until they hit their postgrad. So undergraduate options in India is something which is essential for 95% of our student population. So usually Indians' college system is broken up into three streams, like you pointed out. They're broken up into sciences, into commerce, and into humanities. For sciences, typically, you can study one of three specific branches. One is engineering, the second is medicine, and the third is natural sciences, right? Aside from that, you have commerce. Now, within commerce, of course, it depends from college to college and state to state, within the country. But broadly, you would study something called a BBA, or in some places that's called a BMS.
And I think the BMS is one of those courses that's really picked up these days.
Yeah, it's become very popular.
And I think the options are becoming quite vast in that space. So essentially, when you talk about the commerce space, you have, like Akhil was mentioning, your BBA, which is your business administration sort of degree. Your BMS, which is your management degree. And within BMS, it's, it gives you a broad range of knowledge in the business space. So you would take classes in management, you would take classes in business law and ethics, you would take classes in finance, you would take classes in marketing, entrepreneurship. And then at the end of your third year in a BMS sort of degree, you typically take a decision on whether you would want to focus more on finance or if you would want to focus more on marketing.
So we get a lot of parents I know who come in, at OnCourse, and they sort of ask us, but this sounds very similar to what we studied in BCom, right? So that's sort of where we say that, yes, it is similar to what you studied in BCom. It's just that BCom has now become more of a lighter degree where people who are doing CA and who want to do additional certifications tend to do those sort of degrees, whereas BMS or BBAs tend to be more rigorous, and that's very similar to what they studied back in their day.
And I think with the BMS and the BBA, both sort of courses have a lot of practical knowledge that they give the students as well. So they do help in terms of placements and internships. And at the same time, they learn a little bit more in a case study manner as opposed to a BCom, which tends to be a little bit more theoretical in that manner. And like you said earlier, BCom is now pursued by those who want to do a CA or those who want to maybe even eventually get into doing a CFA and are focusing on a very specific skill as well.
So that's a really good segue to transition into. Alisha, any thoughts on what is a CA, who should be preparing for it, and what do you typically study under a CA?
So with a CA, you're typically preparing to become a chartered accountant at the end of the day, right? So what happens is while studying for CA, it becomes very, very tedious, in which case that those who are doing a CA degree tend to do external classes on the side, which is why the BCom is a good degree for them to pursue, because the BCom gives them that flexibility to then take the classes on the side as well. Within the CA, you'd be studying tax and audit is essentially the two ways that you can kind of go into practical internships or practical articleships is what they call it. With the CA degree, you typically clear about 3 exams that you would do over the course of around 2 years. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of complete in terms of the kind of rigor that they have as well. So Akhil, what do you think in terms of, how is the CA picking up as a degree, or earlier in the day, I feel like everyone will look at a CA as something very hard to pursue. Do you feel like a lot more people are actually looking at that now?
Well, it's never going to die down simply because anyone who wants to go into finance, that's the first certification that they really look at. Not because those guys are necessarily smarter, but simply these are guys who really get numbers. They've worked heavily with numbers, through their articleships. They've worked closely with some, either the Big Four or with specific, corporates. And that's the sort of skill set that they're looking for. And plus, these guys tend to be more hardworking. If you've cleared 3 levels of the CA, that generally means, you're very diligent, very persistent. It's a very specific sort of person. And I think that sort of person tends to get recruited into fields like finance. And that's so anyone who's looking to go into finance, CA is a great route to sort of take. Of course, that usually you would couple that with something called the CFA, right? So the CFA is the Certified Financial Accounting sort of certification, and that's a certification that's valid across the world, right? And that's something which you have 3 levels again, but even if you do 1 level, it sort of already puts you on the radar, because that in that sort of degree you're studying something very specific to understanding final accounts, whereas in the CA you're studying everything connected to Indian accounts, which is not necessarily all applicable in a final job, So from a finance company perspective, they really like CAs.
I think that kind of helps segue into, what if someone who wants to study accounts and finance and doesn't typically want to do a CA certification. So the option, of course, does exist of doing a BAF degree now as well. So the BAF is a bachelor's in accounting and finance that will give anyone sort of hands-on knowledge in terms of just the 2 spaces of accounts and finance. So what are your thoughts on that degree as a whole? So
it's a good degree. I think in general, of course, you're studying very specific components of final accounts. You're studying very specific components of finance. One thing I got to note though is if you're not sure of what aspect of business you want to get into, do not do this. Do the BMS or the BBA, like the one you were mentioning earlier. But I think for those who know they want to get into accounting and finance, and for whatever reason they don't feel like they want to go through with the CA, the BAF is a really good alternate. Will they necessarily be at par with CAs in the job market? Probably not. Frankly, they would ideally, but if they combine this with a CFA certification, I think they could have a really solid chance of getting recruited as well.
With the BCom now, a lot of colleges have offshoots of that as well. So like a BBI or a BFM. So the BBI being banking and insurance and a BFM being the Bachelor in Financial Markets. Do you get a lot of students who typically want to go into these fields, especially since they're very, very specialized?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot more of these sort of options, and typically, we like to classify it into BMS/BBA in field 1. We get in field 2, the BCom plus CA option. In field 3, we get the BAF option, and field 3, we get others. Now, amongst the others, we have BFM, like you said, we have BBI. There's a lot of specific ones which keep coming out every year, So, and I can't keep track of those. But what I can tell you is when you go very specific, you will study one very small aspect of business. And at the age of 18, studying one very small aspect of business is very restrictive. It's very dangerous almost. And you're kind of restricting your job choices going forward, right? If you study banking and insurance, you don't like banking and insurance, you're in big trouble, right? But if I study BMS, I don't like marketing, I can switch to finance tomorrow. I don't like finance, I can switch to HR tomorrow. So it gives me that flexibility, and that, I think that's something which you need, at this age especially.
And BMS would give you eventually the option to specialize at a master's level or postgraduate level, depending on what field really interests you within business.
Of course.
All right, so let's take a short break right now, and when we come back, we can continue this conversation.
Every film has a hero, heroine, villain, and songs. But what makes a film truly memorable are those great characters like Pappu Peja, Gabbar Singh, Mogambo, Calendar, and several others like that. Join me every week as I sit down to talk to brilliant actors who have played some of the most memorable characters in Indian film history. This is Bollywood Scene Stealers. Tune into a new episode every Monday on iTunes, SoundCloud, Audioboom, the IVM podcast app, or any other podcast apps you like.
Welcome back to the On Course podcast. Today we were discussing undergraduate options in India.
So moving a little bit from business, there are a lot of very good colleges that we have that offer the arts-related degrees. So within arts, I guess we could club it into a BA, which is your Bachelor of Arts, or a BMM, which is your mass media.
Yeah.
And the third one, of course, being law.
Sure.
So let's start off a little bit with law, since it's a little bit more complicated. So what are the requirements? How do you apply for a law program in India?
So law is actually it kind of follows the engineering approach in terms of having a requirement for an external exam. So while in commerce, I don't really need an external exam to apply. I just need it based on cutoff. For law, I have to take the CLAT, which is a logic-based examination. Beyond which I need to take I need to have specific cutoffs or meet the specific cutoffs in order to sort of have the right requirement to apply to some of the top law schools.
So with law, typically students are given the option of sort of going into a 2+3 program or what we call a 3+3 program. So with the 2+3 program, essentially, it means you want to directly get into law once you finished your grade 12. In that case, the first 2 years would be a little bit more general, where you would cover, a little bit of business, a little bit of the humanities, anything that may be linked to law. And in the next 3 years, you typically specialize. So in 5 years, it gives you the LLB degree. The 6-year option is typically where you do 3 years of any undergraduate degree. So that could be BA, it could be BMS, it could be anything that you want to study for those 3 years. And then you decide, okay, now you want to get into law. So you can then apply for a 3-year program, giving you 6 years in total, where you would then be a qualified lawyer as well. So students who are very sure about getting into the law field can go directly in for 5 years. But those who are a little bit unclear about their choice of study still have the option of kind of taking on law later as a course as well.
That's really interesting. Actually, I know people, a lot of our clients who say that, listen, I want to do corporate law. And in order to do this, what they would sometimes try to do is do a 3-year bachelor in business degree, get that whole, business fundamental understanding, and then do the 3-year law degree. So they get that complete, whole package where they can understand business, they understand law, and that combination makes them almost, like it's unbeatable for a law firm, when they're sort of trying to recruit people for corporate law.
Absolutely. Moving a little bit into BMM. So BMM essentially is your mass media degree. So within BMM, you will typically study PR, advertising, marketing, a little bit of creative writing, media as well. And at the end of your 3rd year, you typically pick a specialization between advertising and journalism. So again, this is a great degree for someone who does like the business angle, but also is a little bit more creative in their approach, because it kind of is a good blend between the two that you could have as well.
So I think that, especially for those who are creative with their, either heading towards advertising, heading towards journalism, anyone with a creative spark, I think BMM is a great degree. It sort of allows that. I think before this, creative people were kind of forced to go into more structured, degrees, which I felt just stifled them. So this is something which gives them a little bit more flexibility. And even the assessments are less exam-based, they're more project-based, which just sort of allows these sort of people to, express their interests a little bit better. And especially with the creative arts sort of growing as a career also, I think this is a perfect place for a lot of creative companies to sort of recruit also.
Absolutely. The BA degree is one, I think, that earlier wasn't given as much importance as it is now. But within BA, of course, you do have the option of studying economics, you have the option of doing psychology, you have politics, you have literature, history, philosophy. What are your thoughts on the BA sort of program as well?
BA is great. I think as long as you have a clear idea that, okay, I want to study one specific field within BA, right? Like I want to study pure economics, or I want to study pure philosophy, or I want to study pure history. In those sort of situations, yes, BA makes a lot of sense. You want to study the pure art of it. Like you don't want to necessarily study something creative like mass media, or you don't want to study something more practical like law. What I find is people who study things like economics or statistics and things who come into the BA field may still be competing with guys who studied BMS under the business field. So sometimes your career is not really restricted by what you study, but of course it's really a function of what you want to study, I think, and what you'll be really good at, right?
Absolutely. I think with BMS and BA, of course, the number of colleges that are increasing and offering these programs has also kind of, increased a lot over the past few years. Of course, the one hard thing and the one downside is that there are very few very good institutions. And of course, cutoffs are very, very high. And it becomes very difficult for someone who's in that sort of 90% range to even get into some of these universities now. So just to kind of get an idea of what cutoffs typically are, in HR and Jai Hind, in Xavier's or in Delhi University or Christ College, Loyola, typically for a BA, BMS kind of program, they're looking at a 95% plus in the final exams. it becomes difficult for students, who are aiming to go into these colleges.
Yeah, of course, unless you come into a quota system either for, religion or for sports or for something very, very specific. Yeah, I think 95 is the new 90. So you definitely want to be 95 plus to be at those top schools. But I'll tell you one thing. Even if you don't happen to get one of these absolute best colleges and you get a college that's, one rung down on these, I think there are many ways that you can still make the most of your education. And I think that's really important for most of the listeners to hear about. I believe that at the end of it, your education is one small component of it, what you study in the classroom. It's also what you sort of practically do that matters. So if you're able to do some internships, if you're able to learn, to sort of take classes online. And I believe Coursera, for example, is a great tool where you can take courses online for free from anywhere, from the top universities, anywhere in the world. So I think if you're able to do that, you're able to make the most of your education. And then in that case, you don't really fall short or you don't feel as if you've got a lesser education just because you've gone to a school with a 93% cutoff as opposed to a 97% cutoff.
Absolutely. I think with the technical fields, though, so in the sciences, as you were mentioning, with engineering, with medicine, with something like the pure sciences as well, I think these are very important as skills to have in your education if that's something you feel like you want to do going forward. So getting into engineering in India, of course, is very, very competitive. It is one of those programs that's 4 years instead of 3 years as well. And for that, of course, most of the students who are aspiring towards it will be preparing for their entrance exams as well.
So I think one of the things is you have to prepare for the JEE if you want to prepare for the IITs. Now the IITs are the holy grail of anyone doing engineering, and unfortunately only maybe 2% of everyone who sits for that exam will actually make it to the IITs. And of those 2%, maybe 20% of them will actually make it to the IITs of their choice. And of those 20%, maybe 5% will actually get the subject they really want to study. So it's a highly, highly competitive pool. So first and foremost, before you get into this, please recognize whether this is for you. Whether you are cut out to actually be an engineer, whether you genuinely want to target the IITs. Of course, you need to take the JEE irrespective. The JEE main and the JEE advanced is more for the IITs. You do need to have a high rank in order to qualify. But I would also recommend, please don't give up what you want to study just to go to the IIT of your choice or just to go to the college of your choice. If you want to study electrical engineering, stick with it. Don't go and study, metallurgy just because some colleges offer that to you and that's a much better college.
Absolutely. I think that's really good advice as well. Looking a little bit off the beaten track, I feel like in India, there are a lot of new courses and new universities that have come in as well. Ashoka being one, which, a lot of people are asking about, a lot of people are talking about.
Oh yeah, OP Jindal also.
Yeah, and all of these colleges have and do offer liberal arts related education. So with Ashoka, which is based close to the Delhi area, it's typically it's an on-campus program as well that does have a broad range of the social sciences and humanities that they offer. And admission to that has become fairly competitive. They do typically have a lot of tie-ups with some of the top universities around the world. So in the US, in the UK, in France, and that kind of brings together sort of a foreign education to India. OP Jindal is another one that has also started the liberal arts education. Mm-hmm. Symbiosis in Pune has a liberal arts education, as well as Flames, which has been doing it for a little while as well.
Yeah, I think that's a trend we're going to see over the next couple of years. Of course, the liberal arts education in India is still a very new concept. It's still a while before we reach the same heights of what it's been offered in the rest in the US or in Canada. But it's a good start, and I think, of course, it will take a few years, and we're hoping in the next 10-15 years we can have such universities where which are as competitive as some of the top universities anywhere else in the world.
Definitely. So I think this was a very broad but in-depth understanding of what are the options that are offered in the Indian education system post grade 12. For more information, you guys can log on to our website, www.oncourseglobal.com. You could write to us on info@oncourseglobal.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well.
Hey man, just help me out, man. I need some podcasts, man. I haven't had a fix in a week. Just need some.
Don't you worry about it. I got podcast galore for you, man. Just go to ivmpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna check it out.